They built a world to control your mind and called it freedom. Every wall you see, every rule you follow, every bell that tells you when to move, none of it was born from truth. It was born from fear. They told you the meaning of success before you ever defined happiness. They gave you roads and called them choices. They gave you screens and called them connection. They gave you comfort and called it peace. You are living inside a masterpiece of illusion, a world that doesn't need to chain your body because it already owns your attention. They don't silence you by force anymore. They drown you in noise until your own thoughts sound like whispers. But somewhere deep inside you, beneath the noise and the fear, there's a voice that never learned to obey. You can feel it when you stare into the night and the wind seems to speak your name. You can hear it when everything goes quiet, that pulse saying, "It's just not who I am." That is not madness, that is memory. The memory of what you were before they taught you to kneel. You were not born to obey. You were born to awaken. Look around you. Everyone moves, but no one lifts. Faces glow in the light of machines. Eyes trained to scroll, not to see. They told you that education would set you free, but they never taught you to question the teacher. They told you work would give you purpose, but it only gave you debt. They told you the news would tell you truth, but it only tells you what to fear. You live in an age where rebellion is a hashtag and silence is sold as wisdom. People don't fight their chains anymore. They decorate them. They take pictures of their cages and call it success. They want you efficient, not enlightened. Productive, not powerful. Because the moment you stop running in circles, the moment you pause and ask, why? The whole illusion begins to crack. Every empire was built on obedient minds. Every revolution began with a single question. Do you know why they fear thinkers? Because thinkers cannot be owned. Music shifts. Cellos rise in background. They say, keep your head, out of trouble. But what they really mean is, don't discover your strength. You weren't designed to live small. There's lightning in your blood, storm in your thoughts, galaxies behind your eyes, yet they convince you to shrink, to chase comfort, to trade your roar for applause. And so, generation after generation, the same pattern repeats. Dream, obey, die quietly, but somewhere in every era, one voice rises, a voice that refuses to bend. You are that voice now. This time, the revolution doesn't begin in the streets. It begins in the mind. You can burn cities and still remain a slave, but free your thoughts, and the world will follow. That is why the rebel mind exists. Not to motivate you, but to remind you who you were before obedience felt like safety. They told you the system keeps you safe. But the truth is simpler. It keeps you asleep. They don't fear your strength. They fear your awareness. Because the moment you start asking why, the walls they built with lies begin to crumble. Power doesn't survive in the light of truth. It survives in darkness, where obedience grows like a weed. The obedient call it peace. The awake call it prison. You were never meant to crawl through life. You were meant to... Favorite weapon. They sell it on every screen, in every speech, in every headline. Fear is the lock. Awareness is the key. Law 3, comfort is a slow poison. It feels warm while it kills your hunger. The more comfortable you are, the less alive you become. Law 4, pain is sacred. The fire that hurts you is the same fire that will shape you. Don't run from it. Learn to walk through it. Law 5, failure is not the end. It's the signal you've started moving. The ones who never fail are the ones who never tried. Law 6, silence is obedience wearing a mask of peace. The world doesn't need more silence. It needs voices that roar through the noise. Law 7, never trade your voice for approval because the crowd applauds today and crucifies tomorrow. Law 8, learn every day because ignorance is the oldest form of slavery. Read what they don't want you to read. Think what they don't want you to think. Law 9, the war of the future is not fought with bombs. It's fought with beliefs. They don't need soldiers anymore. They need followers. Don't be either. Be aware. Law 10, rise for the truth, even if you stand alone, because solitude is the birthplace of revolutions. These are not just words. These are the codes of freedom, written not in ink, but in the scars of every rebel who refused to kneel. The war you were born into is not fought with guns. It's fought with information. It's fought with perception. It's fought every time a voice like yours decides to speak. They feed you opinions so you forget how to think. They give you choices so you never demand truth. They show you enemies so you never see the cage. But the real enemy is not out there. It's within. It's that quiet whisper that says, don't stand out, stay safe. That whisper is the voice of every system that ever wanted you small. So listen carefully. The moment you challenge that voice, the moment you say no to the invisible master, you declare war on the lie. And when one person awakens, the system trembles, because awareness is contagious. And no virus spreads faster than truth. The powerful know this. That's why they bury truth in noise. That's why they keep you entertained but never educated. That's why they sell you comfort while robbing you of courage. But you were never built to bow. You were built to burn. And your fire will be the one thing they can never buy, censor, or destroy. The revolution is not coming. The revolution is already here. And it looks like you thinking for yourself, you listening to this, yes, you feels too much, questions too much, dreams too wild for the world around you. You pretends to be fine in a world that keeps asking you to hide your fire. I know what you felt, that quiet frustration when everyone else seems satisfied with sleep. You tried to fit in, didn't you? You followed the map, studied the rules, walked the path, but every step you took felt like walking away from yourself. There's a moment every awakened soul faces. The breaking point between comfort and calling, that's where you are now. Standing at the edge of the system's script, staring into your own truth. And that truth is terrifying, because freedom demands everything. Your comfort, your certainty, your illusions. To awaken is to burn the old version of you. The obedient one, the one who feared judgment, must die so that your real self can rise. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. You are not lost. You are being reprogrammed by truth. You are not weak because you feel pain. You are strong enough to feel it when the world runs from it. Every scar you carry is a mark of rebellion, proof that you refuse to stay numb. Thunder strike, camera cuts to a close-up of a hand catching raindrops. There is power in the ones who question everything, because questioning is the beginning of freedom. You were not made to blend in. You were to break patterns. You are the friction in the machine, the spark in the dark. The system cannot control what it cannot predict. And you, my friend, are becoming unpredictable. Stand up, yes, right now, wherever you are, whoever you are, however afraid you feel, stand up, because the moment you stand, you declare war on everything that wanted you small. You've been taught to keep your head down, to apologize for existing, to ask permission to be powerful, no more. This world was not built by the obedient. It was rebuilt by those who refused to kneel. Every revolution began not with soldiers, but with thinkers. Every truth that changed. The world began with one voice that said, enough. And that voice right now is yours. You've waited for someone to save you, but no one's coming because you are the one you've been waiting for. Rise. Not to destroy, but to rebuild. Rise. Not against others, but against your own fear. They have built their empires on your silence. Every time you speak, another wall falls. Every time you think freely, another chain breaks. Every time you love without fear, another world begins. You are not powerless. You've just been trained to forget your power. Power doesn't come from money or armies or fame. Power comes from clarity. And clarity begins when you stop running, stop obeying, and start remembering. Remember who you were before they told you what to be. Remember that every heartbeat is a battle drum. Remember that your fire is older than fear. The time for silence is over. The time for thought has come. You are the system's worst nightmare because you can no longer be controlled by illusion. And once a mind awakens, no power on earth can make it sleep again. Rise for yourself. Rise for those still trapped. Rise for the world that has forgotten how to feel. Because rebellion is not chaos. It is consciousness and awareness. It is the most dangerous revolution of all. When the storm ends, there is always silence. But that silence does not mean peace. It means the world is listening. One day they will ask, when did it begin? They will search the history books for the start of this revolution. But it won't be written there. It began in a single mind that refused to kneel. It began the moment you opened your eyes and said, no more. The world will remember wars and kings, but it will forget the quiet souls who carried fire in their hearts. Don't let that be you. Keep your flame. Protect it from comfort. Feed it with truth. Because the greatest rebellion is not to shout. It is to stay awake in a world built to put you back to sleep. So walk back into the world, not as a servant of its rules, but as a witness of its illusion. You don't need to change the whole planet tonight. Just change your mind once, and the rest will follow. You were not born to obey. You were born to awaken. And if they ever tell you to stay quiet, remember, their power ends. The moment you begin to think, this is not motivation, this is your reminder. Awaken. Think. Rise.